What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of the Midnight Matinee with your boy, the worst damn gamer ever. It is a pleasure to be doing this series. We're going down the chapters of the MCU. If you don't know what that is by this point in time, then this is definitely the place for you to be because we're going to fill you in. Hope you enjoy this ride. Today we got a couple guests with us. I got my boy Sir Sturdy, who's going to be along for this whole thing going, and then we got the Canadian version of the Iron Man, Kyle, the angry Canadian. What's good, fellas? What's good? How's everybody doing? Don't forget to unmute your mics, fellas.
Doing pretty good.
What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you both being here.
Oh, hell,
I
I'm glad
appreciate
to
the
be
invite.
glad to be here again.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, look at these guys. Look at these guys. If you're not catching the visuals, you need to. If you listen to it as audio, go back and watch the video because we got them dressed up.
Yes, told you guys I'm gonna be in costume. I know I messed up last episode, but hell, I fixed it. I'm back. Last two episodes, I'll give you Agent Carter and I'll give you Captain Marvel, but I'm back.
Nice. Kyle's got his whole background set up and just in the mood for us here today. So thank you so much for that, Kyle. I appreciate the
No problem,
man.
But that's the thing, though. Like, you got my horror side and you got my comic side, so it just kind of like intersects, right?
Oh, dude, I'm
so figure I add a few more Iron Man pieces since he's my homeboy, and dress the part as well, and have a good time with it.
Appreciate that. So, gentlemen, this is the third movie in the MCU. This is the fourth one because I forgot we're doing this one pre-recorded. So, this is what happens with streamer life. But yeah, this is the fourth installment of the MCU. The first one is Iron Man 1. We have that coming up that we're going to do live. If you're ready, go catch that because that's going to be out already by the time this one's out. So,
yeah.
MCU, Iron Man 2. Who wants to lead this off? Who wants to tell me how they feeling after watching this one?
I guess I'll go ahead, Kyle.
Go ahead.
No, you know what? You're the new guy, Kyle. I should have been polite. You go ahead. Of this episode, we know Kyle from...
Yeah, be more Canadian. Would you, Sturdy? We got guests.
I can't help. I'm not Canadian. He is.
Trust me, Canadians aren't that nice.
Well, we know. We know you.
We have this persona about us that just isn't true. But my initial thoughts on it, like I've seen this movie at least like 300 times, if not more. I used to be like either this one or Iron Man would be my go-to bed like show / movie, and like 99% of the time I just have my eyes closed, rewatching everything like in my head as the sound plays. I know a lot of people, especially when this one came out, a lot of people hated it. They weren't fans of it. A couple of issues with it here and there, either character or story wise. I didn't give a shit. I have always loved this film. If anything, is probably within my top 3, if not my top 5 of the MCU movies. And yeah, it's up there. Probably just because of the character. Because like I related to that character, the character of Tony Stark so much that it's grown on me over the years.
That's awesome. Sturdy.
What's
good with your take on this so far? Your initials. Now, have you seen this before?
Yes, I've seen this one a few times. I've
seen in the MCU.
So Iron Man 1 through 3, I've seen each of those before. I've seen those a few times actually. 1, 2, and 3. I said right. Well, I don't know if I said 1, 2, and 3, 1 through 4. I 1 through 3. Anyway, again, love it. Fucking love it. I was rewatching this again earlier today, right? I love the cockiness of Tony Stark. The brash, because I feel like he's the most honest. I don't want to say superhero because he's human. He's the most honest hero. Why do I say that? Because I feel like if any of us had that power, we probably have the same cocky ass. Especially if you're a billionaire and then you're doing this shit, you're gonna have that same cocky, brash attitude. Not necessarily mean, because he's not a mean guy. No. He can be an asshole, but he's not like a mean, spiteful person like the typical billionaires are, like the real billionaires are.
Right.
He's a good person. He's a caring person, and he becomes more personal throughout this film, which is dope. But I just love that the cockiness always stays there, the cockiness, and then it becomes like cockiness with heart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like cocky, like brash, but he's like, I'm not just doing this to be cocky and tough. I am, but I'm also doing this because I really believe in it, and
But it's
it's
also
cool.
probably from like a lifetime of like he knows that anything that he does, he knows he's right about it because it's like he's a super genius, right? He understands how these things work more than most people do. So it's just like he's got that ability to just like say I'll make this happen, and he can make it happen. He knows that he can. He's got the intelligence, the ego, like everything's there. He's got the refunds, resources,
I,
the
I
funding, like everything's there, right?
Yep.
I say everything except for like which he does end up growing as you see, of course, which we'll describe more again throughout these films. But even in this one, you kind of see it. He becomes more. I know it's I guess personable, but with his love interest, to where he like opens up a little bit more about him, just like how he is. He's not just this cocky bravado guy, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You kind of see him open up just as a person more, a
Yeah,
little bit
it's
more and
definitely
more.
a fine line between the arrogance, confidence, narcissist, know-it-all type deal, and having him like build up and develop more of a humanity side, more of a sense of connection with
Yes,
humanity.
exactly.
Because in the first movie, and if, like I said, you want to watch that review, go check that out. It'll be dropping this weekend as of now. But yeah, either way, go check that out. But we start off with him, in the middle of the Middle East, in the middle of the war that time, even though he's in a goddamn Hummer in a caravan, he still has that just I'm the shit, like arrogance and attitude, and
Yeah,
he
he
gets his
definitely
money and where
does.
his money comes from with his family and all that shit. Yes, it's of legal means, but that doesn't mean it's of the best intention of its means, especially in the greater scope of humanity as a whole. And he kind of comes to fruition and realize that, hey, some of the shit they've been doing has consequences, and now those consequences show its face to him. So that's where you get the Iron Man persona and character from, and he builds the suits, right? So
Hmm.
it's definitely cool to see that development, and it just keeps going as these MCU movies evolve and come out. So that's one of the best aspects to me of his character is that even though he's been a certain way for so long, he still has the ability to see that and change it to a certain extent. Even though in some of the other movies you'll see his choices aren't always aligned with just that aspect of that new developed sense that he has of his humanity, but also still trying to make the best work with the melds between the businessman and the greater good aspect and the financials and the decision making. Because it's hard to make certain decisions because, yes, they weigh on the side of, compassion and humanity versus profit and business sense. You know what I mean? Making a good decision for
Hmm.
the business. But he's always conflicted and he will always be until whenever his demise is. Caesar.
But that's what makes his character development so great throughout 10, 15 years. Like it's just like with each and every movie, even if he's only in it for Spider-Man Homecoming,
Mm-hmm.
he's in there for like what, maybe a grand total of like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you can see that his character is developing in that small amount of time as well. Like yes, he's starting to care for this kid. Like he understands like this kid's special. Like I was, like I can take him under my wing and so on and so forth, and he develops from there. But he, in that role, he basically becomes like the father figure that he thought he would never be because of the way that his dad treated him when he was younger, yada yada.
Yep.
So it's amazing, and I don't know if if it's the writing or if it's Robert Downey Jr. himself who's like, hey, listen, this is what I want to make Tony Stark go to next. Whoever's doing it, they're friggin' geniuses.
It's a
Agreed.
lot to do with these writers and these directors, you know what I mean? Because they and me and Sturdy discussed this on a couple of the other ones. The way they just take these stories, their source material, they stick to it as much as they can. They give it a little bit of the Hollywood flair, but they keep everything so cohesive and so actually like in line with itself. The way the dominoes start to fall. Even like you said, this one has its gripes from the fans or whatnot. There's certain aspects that they didn't agree with, but even so, those writers in Disney were able, and the executive director Kevin Feige were able to make sure that going forward they molded certain things to answer some of those and to group it into where it's now even those issues that people had with it play a role and are part of the whole bigger picture in the grand scheme of everything in the MCU. So kudos to them, man.
Oh fuck yeah, they did. It
Fucking
seems like they can do no wrong now, and I don't want to say this and get too ahead of myself, and then we end up seeing a shitty movie. But I don't see it being very likely. I really don't see it being very likely, just because of the success they've been doing with everything else. For one, in the recent years, within the past 15, 20 years,
yep.
Yep.
and they just I don't know. And you know what's funny slash weird about it to me is yes, Chris, I'm doing it again. DC, right? Started out good. Batman Returns.
Yep.
And then just dropped the ball after that. They were like, you know what? Let's just go in a completely different, terrible, horrible, awful direction. And not change that. Later on down the road, what we're going to do, we're going to make more Batman and Superman movies. We're going to make this Justice League movie. And then we're going to make another Batman movie that has nothing to do with this Justice League. It's like, come on. Come on. Wake up.
A lot of that has to do with the time frame and the era, right? And who's in control, right? You got these execs running businesses, so they take the properties, they have people run with it and do things. You know, they allow Tim Burton to do a great job that he could. They could have developed that more, but then again, you have bottom lines to worry about. You got other movies you're filming, so basically, like the brainwave or the mentality and the pathway before was a lot of just how do we get as rich as we can with merchandising and all this stuff and create this. Luckily, they had the sense to cast certain good actors and work with them and let them do what they do best to make the properties what they were. But then it becomes after the fact, you did your job, get out the way, don't worry about it. Where this now, other people have taken over. People have rise to the ranks. People of our generation that now understand a bigger scope of things in the creative mindset and are like, you know what? Why haven't any of these industries, or any of the industry allowed anybody to create something that's so involved and so diverse and so expansive as well? And because they were always worried about the fail, where we can make an immediate buck and keep our funds going, grow, and keep our bonuses and continue our lifestyles while doing all this other stuff and trying to meet the masses of audiences that are moviegoers. Now it's we got generational shit to worry about.
You also got to think about, though, it's not like the first thing to become such like a massive empire. Star Wars, for example, I know it's a little bit more of a small scale until Disney bought them. They continued with everything. But the Star Trek, for example, how many freaking different shows do they have? Like, that's, again, it's the same type of fan base that they have for like the comic books and things like that. And now that, like you said, like the new generation is able to say, hey, you know what? I grew up with this stuff. We're able to make it into something that the next generation can enjoy. And that's exactly what they did. And then Disney bought them out and they made it even like 10 times better. So
yeah,
like they knew where it was going and
Disney buy DC and get them some good writers.
DC just needs to let Kevin Feige and some of these other writers that they have on the Marvel Universe just do the job right for them. I'm sure there's some type of a no-compete clause in their contracts or something like that. But at the same time, I mean, they got to find somebody with these people, that are along the same lines of thought process and, ingenuity and just creativeness that Marvel found. Because, shit happens for a reason. But at the same time, stop not letting people do what they're meant to do and what they're good at. Stop trying to have your hand on things so much and so hard. Like, I understand you're writing the checks, but at the end of the day, if these people's visions are going to bring you even bigger checks, you need to get out of the way, unassume some of that control, and let them do what they're meant to do.
Yeah, but also on that note, though, like DC, like Batman's always been like their number one selling franchise. Didn't matter. Like you can remake a new one, you can do it in video games, do sequels, whatever it is, cartoons. They're going to be successful regardless. Like there's some Batman stuff out there that is like super popular that I haven't even seen yet. Like it's a character, basically the DC version of Iron Man, essentially, right? Like you got the rich guy. He's not actually a superhero, but he's able to use his wealth to help others and things of that nature. So people can somewhat relate to that. Be like, you know what? If I was a rich guy or a rich girl or whatever it was, like I'd be able to do this. I'd be able to like pay for the training and so on and so forth and all this cool equipment. But then when it comes to Superman, people, yes, it's cool to see, but people get bored of it very quickly.
That's true.
And then like after, because it's always like Batman, and then they try Superman fails. they start freaking out and they go, okay, well, let's restart. Let's do another Batman. It's like, yeah, who cares? If Superman fails. Just do like what Marvel did. Like, yes, there was Hulk movies. Clearly, that's not fucking working. Let's just have him as a character in the other films. He doesn't need his own film. Like, people know what he is. There's nothing different. There's no like the Hulk's the Hulk. He's going to be an angry green guy. That's it. He's
you know what it
smash some shit, and that's it.
You know what it is too, Kyle. What you just mentioned, like with the Hulk and with Superman. Bruce Banner is not bad like in the Avengers, like as a whole, as you were saying. Same with the Hulk, but you can't do like a full movie with just them. And I feel the same way with Superman. Clark Kent is boring outside. Nobody cares about him outside of him being Superman. But
No,
Bruce Wayne's more interesting as a person because he's the rich playboy basically, and he does a lot of shit. You know what I mean? So it's like he like you're interested in the cape, the guy, man behind the mask, and the man in the mask. And I guess you could say the same thing with fucking Tony Stark. That's
exactly.
Good connection with those two.
Like that. I think it was Robot Chicken. Like everybody, all these superheroes are fighting, and then like Bruce Wayne and Iron Man are like money fight. They start like tossing like $100 bills at each other.
But I mean, and the crazy thing is, I mean, you could even go to, which I guess you could say Bruce would lean more towards him when it comes to fighting martial arts. Black Panther, T'Challa.
Yeah,
but he's filthy. But he
also has an amazing like background. Like
I was gonna say he's
and everything, and as Black Panther, like that's also very interesting. Like the same idea as all the more interesting characters. Like you have your superhero life and you have your real life, and if one of them is not interesting, then it's not going to work out for you.
Not going to work out exactly. And
I would beg to say that the only reason Batman and like the Wakanda character, T'Challa, has such an interest is because of their backstories and where they're from. Mm-hmm. Like Batman has the tragic backstory of his parents dying. He's orphaned. He saw it happen. He has to battle some demons. T'Challa is like, hey, we're from royal family. We got generations of situations that we've had to overcome and struggle and all this stuff. And we had to basically hide ourselves to make sure that we were untainted by the rest of the world and keep things there. But Tony, he's got, hey, I'm the brat rich boy. I had everything. My parents were there. Boo-hoo. Even though they were there, I hated how they were there and they weren't there enough for me. Wah. Type deal. And it's like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But which is why I guess you can also argue that he didn't grow up until this point in his life. You know what I mean? Because he realized, shit, my parents were doing right by me. My dad had my interests at heart. He starts to see paper trail or breadcrumb trails that his dad left behind, and understanding the reasons his dad did things and was a certain way. And it's unfortunate that it takes us some time sometimes to actually realize some of this stuff and come to the understanding that, hey, the reasons behind this being done this way is because, listen, you're not everybody. You're not every average child. We are not the average family. We have responsibilities. We have roles to play, and we have power that other people don't. So we need to pay attention to that. We need to make sure we're not squandering it. And that's why his dad did things the way he was, with developing technology and trying to save the world and having things done with S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that. But then you get the other side of it that, hey, the only way he was able to do that was by funding it through these weapon industry and all that stuff, which creates destruction, not just life and helping. So it's complicated. So that's why people gravitate towards him on that scope, and then his changes and the way he addresses things, and how once he's Iron Man now, like, listen, I have to be able to do this. I have to be out there. I'm not going to let anybody else take it or control it, because I know what they're going to do with it because of my insight from what we did and how we even came up. I'm not letting that happen again. Exactly.
Now, like, he knows firsthand what his weapons can do to either destroy or aid the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he knows that he needs to hold on to it, because he doesn't trust anybody else at all.
Yep.
Like, yes, he's got some trust in Pepper, he's got some trust in Rhodey, but like, it's not, well, clearly he has trust in Rhodey. Just let him fuck off with the suit. So
yeah.
But like, there's very few people who he would allow to give that type of power to, and which is completely understandable, because I'd be in the same position. Like I don't think that there's anybody that'd be like, hey, I got like this unlimited power in my hands that I can do whatever I want with. I want to do nothing but good with it.
Yeah.
but like, I don't know if I can trust this person because like, what if like sturdy, like super nice guy and everything, but what if I give him the power and it goes to his head and he just starts doing like I'm going to take over the world and shit, right? So you always have that fear. Not saying that he would, because I highly doubt that he would do that.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like, that fear in the back of your head, like, if I do that, this is going to be because of me. I'm the one who caused it, right?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying with that.
So there's definitely no way that he would want to get out the suit, especially to the United States, who have had a very shitty track record with war and shit like that. So
yeah. The world, you can say that about the whole world, has a very
true, yeah.
when it comes to war and violence. Like, if I give you this much more power, you're just gonna fuck more shit up. I don't think you need this.
Right. He knows one of the only other entities that can beat him at his game is the full government. He can put in contingencies and have things and fail safes in place so that if they took his technology, they can't use it. But once they backwards engineer it and start building it themselves, he has no control over that. He has no way in. Now he has to do things illegal or whatnot if he wants to shut them down. So it's like, no, this is mine. I invented it. I created it. I worked on it. I did it all. You didn't fund this. This had nothing to do with anybody else other than my need to survive, and then me realizing that I can use this for the good, and I am, so where's the problem?
Exactly.
I love it.
So
you have to.
So off the topic of him or Tony Stark like realizing like, hey, I can do good with this stuff, so he started to do that. Gives the company over to Pepper, one of the only people that he trusts, and just like, hey, I'm going to make you CEO. I got stuff to deal with. Like, this is. It's yes, I understand. It seems that I'm being selfish, but like this is important to me. This is what matters to me now. You take care of the company. You keep the funds running. Everything will be fine there. And then 10, 20 minutes later, we find out like, oh shit, something's wrong with him. He's dying. The fucking why can't I think of the name?
The arc reactor.
Arc reactor. Thank you. Yeah, the arc reactor is keeping him alive, but it's also killing him. It's poisoning him.
Yep.
So it's just like, oh, well, now he's got another thing to deal with. And why is he acting like an idiot? A lot of the times he's racing in the Formula One car. He's having his party. He's doing all sorts of nonsense. And it's like, well, yeah, the guy's dying. So that's why he's acting like an idiot, which is understandable because, most people would do that. Be like, you know what? It's my last night on Earth. I'm going to go party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation to be in, to have this responsibility, understand it, and then have a problem that can take you out, and you're running out of time. He can probably figure out and solve it, but he's been trying to. It's not like he hasn't, but he's hitting his head on a wall every time he does. So now it becomes a situation of, how do I make sure that what I'm doing continues in one way or another? I trust Pepper. Run this thing in the best way you can. Think of me when you're making these decisions. And then Rhodey, you already got my shit. You know my thing. Let's make sure that this doesn't end up in the wrong hands. Like, and that's where that comes from. And I sympathize with the guy. I wish, like that he didn't even have to be put in that position. But at the same time, that's also another thing that comes into play in his character development and him learning about himself and him realizing there's more, there's bigger pictures, and there's, other people around.
He can't do this stuff on his own. He needs to rely on other people at times.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is another thing too. Like when Rhodey stole the suit after their fight together, and he flew to the military base, he had the common sense to be like, you know what, I'm taking the arc reactor out because this is the gold tier. Anybody can make a suit. Like, this is what powers it. This is what gets the technology to work as well as it does. Yep. And Buddy's like, is that the battery? And he's like, let's mind your business. Like, you don't need to know what this is. Like, the only thing that we're here for is to get Buddy to hook up some guns to it. The technology will do the rest.
Yeah.
That racing Monaco super dope scene. Gotta give them praise on that.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Ivan comes out with those electrical fucking whips and shit. You know what I mean?
That was dope.
I wrote a lot of the imagery was super sick on this, and that's a point we keep making in these movies, right? Like this is what crazy budget does for you. It gets the best talent in the world to be able to help you make your vision reality.
Well, hell yeah, yes,
exactly.
So, I have a question for you, Kyle, and I have a question for both of you after this. So in this movie, I forgot who said it, I want to say it was the guy John, but he said something, something, something. This isn't Canada. We don't leave our doors unlocked. Kyle, lock your doors, please.
Oh, my doors are always locked, dude.
Okay. So he was
I'm
lying.
sure we had this conversation previously, but I used to live in a fairly shitty neighborhood. So when he came onto my deck on what was it, Father's Day, I stole a chair that I bought for my wife on Mother's Day. So yeah, that wasn't very nice.
Not at all.
Damn, stole a fucking chair of all things to steal.
One of those fucking gravity chairs too, man. I was very unhappy with
I
what.
love one of those.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I love
And then
the party scene. Sorry,
number
I'm
two.
just thinking about.
Oh yeah, number 2. How bad did Terrence Howard fuck up? Because I know
What, man?
the first one, I guess he wanted more money or something. Wanted a lot more money.
Understandable.
And yes, but I mean, you should see where it's going first. Because look at how many more films he could have been in.
So, when we were going through the Captain Marvel one of the tidbits was that, hey, Jude Law, who played young Rog, actually consulted with Robert Downey because he was in Sherlock Holmes or whatnot, but he consulted with him to ask him, like, how do I do this? Like, how do I approach this? And Robert Downey's response was essentially, just do your job. Don't worry about everything. Don't understand it all. Do what you got to do. Play your part, because this is way bigger than anybody can even imagine. And if you want this check and you want to be part of this legacy for life, all we need you to do is do what you got to do, and that's it.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's like people that are auditioning for the roles in these films. Like I think I saw a clip with Zendaya the other day, and it's just like, hey, like when you audition for the role, how did it go? She's like, I didn't even know I was auditioning for the role. Like they just gave me a script and they told me to act a certain way. I did the audition, and that's it. Like they didn't say what it was for. They didn't say it was for MCU. Like nothing. Like what she had done in the audition had nothing to do with the actual Spider-Man, so she wouldn't know, right? But then you got hired on, you're like, oh fuck, like I'm good enough to be in an MCU film, right on, even though it's technically an offshoot, but still.
Yeah, but again though, like it's like, okay, shit, I'm gonna be part of the event. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be a part of this universe. I'm gonna be a part of the Avengers, and give me the role. Like shit, if you guys are accepting me and saying you're hired for the role, I'm not gonna. Because it's just one of those opportunities to where you never know where it's going to take you. Not saying he didn't fuck up, because I don't know what he did with his career. Or, he did a lot of shit, of course. But I don't know financially. Is what
Which
I mean
one?
by that. Terrence Howard, because you know how he was the Iron Man.
I wasn't sure because Robert Downey Jr. fucked up his career prior to Iron Man 2, if you think about it. So
true.
Yeah. I mean,
Terrence Howard definitely did screw up, though. He screwed up. He should have just kept his mouth shut and just went with it. But I understand, because that was like that was pre-Disney, essentially.
Yeah, it was like
when that happened.
2005, I want to say.
Yeah.
Supposedly he was hard to work with. Supposedly they had to reshoot a lot of his shots, and him and John Favreau just did not get along, apparently. So his reasoning for leaving was, my contract wasn't honored. John Favreau was like, he was hard to work with. Like, I'm not for nothing. I'm going to believe John Favreau, because that's more of an honest answer than, oh, my contract just wasn't honored. No, you were a shitbag to work with. I didn't want you back on my set. Bye.
Yeah, and then there's other times like it was him saying like, oh well, Robert Downey Jr. is getting more money than me, and like, well, yeah, he's the star of the show.
He's the lead.
Main actor. You know what I mean? You're gonna have fucking 10 minutes per movie, 15 minutes per movie. It's not like.
But honestly, like as soon as that introduction of like the new roadie, when Don Cheadle walks in, they're just like, yes, I'm here. Like, just get over it. Let's go. And he's just like, oh, okay. Like, they're kind of like making light of the situation by like, this is Rhodey. This is the new Rhodey. Shut up and just go with it.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it either, though. He's a fucking phenomenal. He's a really good actor.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing. Like everything he's been in, like is been amazing. And like he's got a show coming out soon too. The Iron Wars, whatever the hell it is.
Is it Iron Wars? Yeah.
Something like that. It's a different name. I can't remember what it is, but it's one of the Disney shows, and he's supposed to be in that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Yeah, Marvel's really kicking ass. And now, you know what else they're doing though is they're making these great movies and then doing series that tie in with the movies.
Yep.
No,
And
exactly. I
using
just
like,
recently finished Loki and Hawkeye. Hawkeye was freaking fantastic.
Okay, was really good. Loki
nice.
takes a little bit of you following and just making sure you like if you miss something, either go back, rewind the shit. You know what I mean? Figure out where it is. If you haven't
Yeah,
seen
that
the Thor movies or Guardians of the Galaxy movies, you need to before you watch fucking Loki.
yes and no. Unless if you're paying attention, because he does like the whole flashback of what happened through his
Yeah,
life. So you don't like if you were stepping into this for the first time, you can still get the gist of like, oh, this guy was a clown before he,
yeah,
got here.
that's true.
Hmm.
That's true. See, I love that Marvel allowed certain things like Mickey Rourke when he's playing Whiplash and stuff like that. Details about his character they allowed him to create and whatnot. They basically allowed him to mold the persona and like the actual character himself. Yeah, they gave him the script. They told him what he should, but he's like, hey, I want it to be this Russian thick accented, tattooed. Because it's kind of a contradiction to itself, right? From his appearance to what exactly he is, and he's kind of a genius himself. Yeah, he was taught, but I mean, everybody gets taught. They don't just
Mm-hmm.
wake up knowing knowledge, right? So shit like that, his go-to stuff like that, he made sure that they had on screen and stuff like that, and they allowed him to build that character that way. So that's kudos to them because to me that also made his character more interesting because if he would have been a geeky scientist type kid or just like some guy who's just big for nothing makes no sense. Where this guy, he at
Mm-hmm.
least gets the feel of like Russian gangster, Russian mafia, with the heart because of his dad or his uncle or whatever is that, actually helped Howard Stark create the technology for the arc reactor and
Mm-hmm.
give that whole backstory. So I thought that was freaking dope as well. Like they just do so many of these little things that get you more vested into wanting to see what happens and know what happens and where they come from, what they do, and then we get these series that then fill those gaps of the questions you have about, well, what about this? Or so in between here, what's happening or what did happen or how did we get to this point? And they're doing a great job injecting stuff that literally just flows, makes it all flow.
Absolutely. It's just genius how they've been able to put all this together and then go back and what was it? Not No Way Home. Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home, when they're talking to the one lab guy when Mysterio was like trying to work with him to do something, but he's the lab guy from like the original Iron Man movie who was telling Jebediah Stane or whatever the hell his name is that like we can't do it, and he starts yelling at him. I was like, well, Tony Stark did it with a box of scraps in a cave. But just like the fact that they went that far back to get one guy who was pissed off about something to create him into something bigger later on down the road is genius. I love it.
Yeah, the way these movies connect is it's almost crazy. It's almost crazy because I'm sure. Again, don't quote me, people, because I'm not gonna say I guarantee it, but I'm sure if you pay attention to these movies and watch them a billion times, there's probably a way where each movie connects to each other one way or another in some strange, weird, funny, funky way. Nerds get on it, and I'm a nerd, but I'm not that deep into it. But it's just the way these connect. And I was talking to Chris about this actually the past few episodes, Kyle. I don't think this is ever going to be done again. I don't think this is ever going to be done again. To where you have, because you can technically call it a franchise, I guess, or universe, whatever you want to call it, to where they knock so many films, and we're just talking just the movies, not even the shows, so many films out of the fucking park. Like,
Yep.
out of the park. And me and you, big into horror, there's so many horror franchises that we just love, but they're not, you know what I mean? Not every single movie is the greatest. Not every
No,
single movie is
exactly.
like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Like these ones, like there's nothing that is less than a 7. Like
Exactly.
and
So
some
far.
stuff like you think like, oh, they can't top it, they can't get any better than that, and then like something like Shang-Chi comes out and you're like, holy crap, like this is amazing. Like how did why did they wait so long to do this character? But it's just
I feel
they have like what 10, 20 years
yeah.
ahead, like planned ahead, and then they could kind of tweak things as they go. Like that's how like they know that everything's going to be freaking solid.
I was just about to say they have everything planned out. Like, okay, look, we're gonna bring out Iron Man first because a lot more people know who Iron Man is than say Shang-Chi. As far as like just the common fan of these, just from the cartoon, just like the common fan like that. maybe not even into the comic books like that. So like, let's bring out Iron Man, and then bring out the rest and all that other good stuff. And they're doing it right. They're doing it absolutely right.
Yeah, I
And
mean, these things all started out as like a hey, let's see what happens. I mean, the first Iron Man was the first one. We had the Hulks and all that stuff, and they didn't do that great. And Iron Man was like the last ditch for like, all right, let's see if we can get this going again and like get the money coming and let's start building this because we have this idea we want to. I mean, they already have the source material that's so expansive anyway. It's not like they gotta pull and create new stuff. Like it's really not. Like yes, you have to change things around circumstances of interactions at times to make it fit within a 2 or 3 hour film. But Marvel in general, Marvel Comics and Stan Lee and what was it, Arvid or whatever, they did such a great job setting the foundation for this and making this legacy what it is for 30 years prior to these movies even coming out. That's like, bro, you can't fuck this up. Like you can't fuck this up. Even though we proved with DC that you can, but you can't fuck this up. Like
Yeah, but like I said earlier, like it's just they panic. Like if something doesn't do well or as well as they had hoped for Marvel, they just go, okay, that's fine. We will move on, and then we're going to connect something else. So you have to go back and be like, oh yeah, like this is what this was from, like Thor: The Dark World.
yeah.
Like everybody crapped all over that movie, and then the guys turned around and they went, well, you know what? We're going to make you have to go rewatch it because we're going to have a bunch of stuff in, I think it was not Endgame, but Infinity War, where we're going to have all this stuff that kind of points back to this movie. So this movie is going to be very important now in the timeline because it's got XX and, YZ, whatever that needs to be in this movie in order for things to work.
Yeah, and then especially with things being so fresh, like with Iron Man being the first, actual like MCU movie and all that stuff. Like there were still contract things going on. Look, we saw Howard, or what's his name?
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, get changed out. But then you have all these other characters that kind of held it down and like made sure their shit was there. Like we almost lost Nick Fury Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and then they finally like the last final hour was like, boom, let's come to an agreement on this. And then at that point, he said, I'm not doing this because unless you guys lock me in for the next 9 movies. They locked him in for the next 9 movies, and then now we're looking at 27, 30, and another 20 movies scheduled. So, I mean, that's what it takes, and then it also takes like Kevin Feige and John Navarro to actually be strong in the pushback and the things with the studios and stuff, because some of these movies they were literally intervening so much that they were trying to rewrite scenes and shit in the scripts as they're filming it, and it got to the point that's like, you need to stop, back the fuck up, because we're doing this, we got this, and it's going. And then they started finally creating enough revenue that now it's like, all right, we don't need to choke them out as much. Now they're
we can't bother them. These people know what they're doing. They're like, and which I've always found funny too, because it was years and years ago. Kevin Smith had a stand up about. Not a stand-up, but like a Q&A, and he was talking about how they wanted him to write, I think it was a Superman movie. And he went to the guys and he's like, well, why don't you get one of the guys who writes the comic books to do it? Well, that's not how things work. Well, now that's how things are being done, and guess what? They're frickin' successful because of it.
Yes.
You get the people that are not only writing the current source material, but have a vast knowledge of the previous history, like they've read everything from back in the to the 60s or whatever, like the random superheroes that they're working with came out. Like they know everything that there is to know about these characters, all the characters that are associated with them, and so on and so forth. These are the people that you want to be like, hey, do you want to write my movie for me? And you want it to make sense, and you want the fans to enjoy it. Like, this is what we need. Yeah, no problem. Boom, done.
Dope. And that makes sense, though. You're getting people that not only, like you said, have a lot of familiarity with it, with writing currently, but are also passionate about it. Because you're not going to spend years and years and years of your life of something you're not passionate about.
No, exactly. And the source material is so, there's so much of it that, yes, Marvel can easily plan, 20 years into the future with whatever the hell they want to do because they have the source material for it. And like I said, you can go back, you can tweak things as you go just to kind of like figure out what you want to do and where you want it to go. or based on something that happened in a previous movie, but like the outline's there. Like
Definitely.
99.9% of the world is not going to know what the hell that outline is until it happens or until it's announced and things like that. But like everything is so secretive and so planned out, and like it's perfection. If there's anything that's perfection these days in the movie industry, is probably this.
Yep.
I understand that there's a lot of old directors and shit like that are unhappy with how well that those movies are doing, but guess what? It's the nerds are here to stay.
Yep.
Definitely going nowhere.
I mean, come on. If you're gonna pay this much attention to detail, I mean, they do stupid little shit like when who turns out to be Black Widow. What's her name? Like
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. You know, she gets introduced in this movie as well. She comes in as an assistant to Pepper, right? Tony asked her, you know, he said he wants one when he saw how badass she was and like her demeanor or whatever, right? And then when Tony asks her, hey, do you even, when he finds out that's her, do you even speak Spanish? What she says to him, like,
Latin.
you got to pick up on it, yeah, or speak Latin. She comes out and says, like, phalluses stunt. The fuck did she say? Something phalluses stunt something species or whatever. And I think the translation of that is things aren't what they seem, or things are deceptive, or something like that, or appearance of things are deceptive, which alludes to her not even being who she really is. And if you don't catch that, you're not paying attention, you're just gonna be like even more shocked later. That's like, but if you did catch it, you're like, wait, the fuck did she just say? She's got too many skills going on over here. You start to wonder and ponder a little bit, and then it's like, good thing she was part of the good team. You know what I mean? She's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatnot.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that kick up from this movie. I mean, the imagery and stuff like that of them portraying, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but Iron Man 1, you got, you know, crude technology, essentially, him building things in a cave. His bombs are just booms, right? They're bombs that we know and we use, but there isn't too much of the whole, like, how crazy some of the technology can be. Like, now we come to this movie, there's holograms, there's the things going on at the World's Fair, which was super dope. Now he's carrying his Iron Man suit in a suitcase. He references it to be the football, like he's the president of the United States with nuclear codes and shit, you know what I mean? Like, and that plays off his arrogance as well, but at the same time, it's like, yo, nuclear deterrent right here, like, let me get that, like, pass me the ball.
That's one thing that I always really liked about this movie was, like, the stow and go Iron Man suit. Like, clearly you can't fly with it, but otherwise it has, like, the rest of the capabilities for, like, a quick, like, hey, we need to do something here.
Yeah.
So, like, I've always enjoyed that. I know a lot of people hated it. It's like, well, that's kind of stupid. Why would you have the suit in a briefcase? Well, look at him now. Like, he's got the nanotech. He just goes like this, and guess what? Boom.
Yes,
he's
covered.
covered.
Bracelet initially, and the next coming movies that he figures out to use. There's always an adaptation. There's always an evolving factor to
exactly all the different marks for his for the different suits, right?
How can you hate that or be mad at that? I think it's fucking dope. And again, it goes back to it advances every single movie, like you guys just said. It advances, it gets better to the point of I'm just like, holy shit, I want one of them damn suits. I want to be able to just fly somewhere. You know how much money I would have saved when I went to go visit Henry in Colorado? If I just had one of these damn suits and just flew out there by myself.
Oh yeah,
exactly. No issues. Just
I wouldn't even have to fucking have him. I mean, if I had that kind of suit, though, I'd have some bread, which means I wouldn't even have to bring on, like, I wouldn't have to carry clothes or nothing. Like, fuck, I'll just buy new clothes when I get there, and then anything that I buy when I come back, I'll just fly it back with my suit, or you know, I'll get it back home. I'll ship it. But yeah, the suit. I love the suit. I think that's one of my favorite things about the Marvel universe is his suit and Black Panther's suit. Just how dope they are, how different they are, but how dope they are.
How the technology is just so advanced that it's able to.
But it suits them though, like for
absolutely.
For Black Panther, it suits him because he could fight.
Yeah,
so he don't need to fly and all that stuff. It just gives him extra, more power and shit. But he can fight. Tony Stark can't fight. He's not the best.
Eventually, he gets better at it.
He does get better at it, but in the beginning, he can't fight. He just has a suit that can shoot.
No, exactly. But and there's a prime example of that when he's fighting War Machine or Rhodey, just because he wasn't War Machine at the time yet. But when they're fighting each other, like Rhodey's got all the moves and things like that, you can tell. like he's obviously a trained, military expert, and Iron Man's just like, oh, I'm gonna punch him in the knee, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, just to try to like take advantage of the situation, right?
Hmm.
Get
Oh
up
yeah, he
to,
definitely got better. He
sorry about
said
that.
no.
You're good. There's just
Got your
so
back,
many
Kyle.
different things that they lay way to. Like he's starting to create that arc reactor again and stuff like that. And you see the vibranium shield or something that looks like it from Iron or from Captain America saying in the back, and that's
Yep.
kind of the premise for the material that he uses to make it and help power it or at least shield it or whatnot. And then like you throw in what was the other thing? To me, one of the other things I love about Iron Man himself or Tony Stark is that it's kind of a constant reminder that listen, just because you're one person, and I gotta reflect back to this every so often myself. It's like just because you're one person doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean that you can't do anything that you're thinking or like, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have that. That's okay. You can still find a way. Because if this one guy can do rebuilding a vehicle, making a machine to help save the world, work on a reactor for power source, do all this stuff, and yeah, he has the team of his company behind him to then take his shit and make it mass or whatever or produce it at the same time. It's still coming from him. It's all happening from him. He's finding the time to do all this stuff. So there's
Mhm.
tons of opportunity within your own life that sometimes, especially this day and age, I think we get lost in, scrolling, and we get lost in Netflix, and we get lost in just kind of wasteful
Entertainment.
well, yeah, or wasteful I guess entertainment. I don't consider it wasteful because then it'd be like, well, shut this off and go do something productive that helps the country or the world. You know what I mean? But at the same
Yeah,
time, it's just wasteful activities that yeah, we need escapes and we need to be able to do stuff. But if there's things that you're passionate about, if there's things that is on your mind, then just go and do it. Take some time out of your day to start the process and then go back to the
Yeah.
process. Continue to get onto that process till it's done, whether it takes you 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, a week, whatever it is, a day. If you can bang the shit out, you got something that you can do or you think you should do or need to do, then do it. Like podcasting, gaming, like it's not things that are life changing in the aspect of hey, the world's going to be a better place because I just made this podcast and we're getting out there and talking about this film. But at the same time, this also then allows somebody to decompress perhaps for an hour, or while they're in tune in their activity that they're doing that's so meaningful to them, they got this going on while they're thinking about it. You know what I mean? So
I got
it's a
something to say
it's
about
push
that though.
pull, but you
Who's to
gotta
say?
keep doing shit.
Who's to say that's not going to make a world a better place? Hear me out.
No,
And the reason why I
absolutely.
say
It might help with people's temperaments and stuff like that and allow
exactly
them to
just because
reevaluate certain things
because
or see different
at the same
perspectives.
time, and I'll use all of us as an example as streamers instead of streaming and doing this just to have fun. You could say decompressing, whatever you want to call it, just having fun, a getaway. Just enjoy it, making friends. Like we all met each other because of streaming. At
Right.
the end of the day, it's just like you could be out at the same time. We could all be out doing dumb shit. We could all be out
No,
fucking fighting, drinking, drugging, doing dumb shit, and just
absolutely.
causing havoc, which is bad to the world. But we're here doing something, sitting around talking about something like this, nerding out, geeking out, having a good time,
exactly. We're
and
having a positive conversation about something we all enjoy.
which is
Oh
a
Like,
no,
good thing.
absolutely, absolutely.
and
So
there's
that's
other
that's
people
why
that
I
are
don't want
out
to be
there.
misconstrued. I just want to say, hey,
Exactly.
like we appreciate you watching and listening. We appreciate you subscribing, but
Oh hell yeah!
also understand there's a world out there. There's shit going on. If you can help those situations or you can make your life better by doing something, we appreciate you coming for these moments and these opportunities to get these perspectives or these outlooks, so that you're not just focused on just that and you take a break. But just remember, there's more stuff than just
Oh
scrolling
yeah,
and just watching things
Absolutely.
aimlessly that have no point. Because it doesn't matter how many times you watch something motivational. It doesn't matter how many times you watch something that inspires you. If you're not gonna actually go get up and take action and do something, then you are just wasting your time.
I see what you mean by that. I see what you mean by that. Go with your passions, but maybe your passion is doing something like this. Maybe something like this
Absolutely.
inspires you.
Don't just be the consumer. Go and create.
Yeah, creating's fun. Creating is very, very fun. Just figure out what it is you want to create. Doesn't have to be something like this. Can be,
There's
but
always
only you
something
know.
like we have to watch Hamilton for tonight's podcast, which ladies and gentlemen, tonight 9 p.m. on the Z Network, on YouTube, on Facebook, on
This is not
Twitter.
going to be live, remember?
Well,
No.
yes.
That show's going to be a while
That's right.
back.
That's right. So
Yes, yes.
2 weeks or last week's episode of Popcorn and Pints at 9 p.m. on Saturday. Good call. Good call.
2 weeks. No, you're right. 2 weeks. But here, I'll just make it easier. Every night or every Saturday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, which will be before this show.
Yeah.
It'll be 3 hours before this show starts. Check out Popcorn and Pints on the Z Network.
Yep.
Everywhere you can see this show, for the most part, you can see Popcorn and Pints, and you're gonna have a great time. And also check out Horror Stuff 30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays and whatever time that fool puts out content, you want to see it because he does shit like this.
You know what? I just realized I'm looking at Sturdy's background here, and I'm like, I got the suit without the helmet. You should have just put an eye patch on. It could have been freaking
Nick Fury. I wanted Fury. But let me see what they got.
But yeah, with that being said, folks, about the other podcast you can go and watch if you're into that. Basically, we had to watch Hamilton for that, and one of the messages, that kept sticking out to me about Alexander Hamilton is the guy just had to keep writing. He just had so much shit on his mind, and he knew he could make so much of a difference if he didn't stop writing, and he just had to keep doing what he had to do. He sacrificed a ton. He's made mistakes. He's in his personal life and all that, but he made sure that what he was meant to do, he was doing. He made sure that he knew his skill was with a pen, and he had to just keep using that pen and have to keep writing like time was running out. Because inevitably, we all make that realization that, God, we are running out of time every single day. We don't know what days are given to us and which ones they're going to take us away. We don't know what instances and situations we're going to be in. We could be potting right now. A plane can come crash through my door. This is done over. Somebody put this out at the end, but either way, you still got to keep doing what you got to do, and you got to keep pushing and keep moving and keep using your skills to help things be better. Nice.
Definitely.
Completely agree with you.
Nice.
Had to change it up a little bit.
Patchy sturdy.
Iron sturdy.
And
Fury.
So that kicks back to this whole thing is that, Tony Stark is a great reminder of that as well for the modern time and the modern age that, hey, just because you are one man does not mean you cannot do more than everybody or anybody else who's around you, or who you see doing nothing or kicking back or enjoying their either their simple life or their complicated life or whatever. But either way, where do you fall in it?
No, I get that though. I get that because it could be just as simple as, like you said, everybody around you is doing nothing. Just you doing one or two things is doing something.
Exactly. As long as they're making some sort of effort and you're not hurting anybody or anything like that, go for it. Like, like you said, it's as simple as, we're doing a show right now. If somebody who happens to be a giant MCU fan comes across it, and they 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, they get to binge all these episodes and sit there and hear positive feedback about something that they also love. And it's not like going on Facebook where it's everyone going like, oh, F this, F that. Like,
and I was gonna say, on top of that too, like with that is, and the thing I love about podcasts, like I'll just speak because this is a movie podcast and that's what we do across the board for the most part. What I love about that is you have different opinions and different variations, different conversations per show, not just per episode. Yes, per episode, but I just mean per podcast in general. Like the ones on this network, the ones on other networks, and all that other stuff, and all the other independent or back whatever you want to call every other single podcast out there, movie podcast. I'm talking. Like I like how you can go to somebody can do this exact same review, and the conversation will be completely different. And I think that's so amazing. And I love how you give that variety and just variations of it. It's like a bag of Skittles. It's beautiful.
Seriously.
I love Skittles.
Seriously.
They're pretty delicious.
So getting back to this whole thing, you got the scene behind you where Tony Stark's hungover. He's at a donut shop. Nick Fury comes in and basically saves his life. He buys him more time to allow him to be able to figure out, what the situation is with the arc reactor killing him in his chest. He realizes then.
Well, not only that, he's telling him like, "Hey, listen, like I'm telling you, there is a way to fix this. You just need to figure it out." And then he even gives him the tools that he needs for it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he does.
Then he realizes that his dad, his legacy, which is him, which is Tony, also left behind some things for him, and he understood that he was limited by his time and the technology available to him just because he had a thought that he couldn't exactly finish. doesn't mean that it can never be done. So even though you start
Exactly.
something now, doesn't mean someone else can't carry it and finish it for you or make it even better and change it. And it's cool to see the generation have to come in, take the idea, take it over, find the clues that are left behind because unfortunately
Hmm.
they had a broken relationship to a certain extent. They couldn't have those conversations where if Howard was able to just talk to Tony openly and Tony
Oh
talked
shit,
to his father
gross.
openly without the bitterness and the anger and all that stuff, then he could have understood more of his path and his reason for being and his gifts earlier on, and some of this stuff could have been offset. Some of these things may have caused effects or certain situations to arise and have effects earlier than later, where they are now, or cause a whole nother role in time and everything that goes on with their stories and all that. But then to see, hey, his dad made the World's Fair event, he made all this stuff, he left that there, and then all of a sudden when he breaks it down using his new current technology, the model and everything, he realizes that it was the basic premise behind and how to make his arc reactor actually work without
Hmm.
having the damaging effects or having
Yeah.
the issues the shortcomings that it did have. And it was a blueprint for him to follow later, more so than him being having an ego and building, the small city or the future, the city of the future, and all that stuff for his own personal interest or his family's personal interest or legacy.
Yeah.
There was a greater scope to why he did all of that.
But that's the thing too, though. Like the dad also had the same issues that Tony has. Like he knows he's got this power in his hands, and he just doesn't know who to trust with it. And he's like, the only one that I know who can. It's not completed yet. Like we need the technology to advance in order to be able to complete this. But the only person that may be able to do this, that I may be able to trust, would be my son. But he's acting like an idiot right now because he's just out partying and doing whatever. I'm gonna hide this. Well, I guess at that age he wasn't because he was still a kid. He was in the friggin' videos.
Yeah.
But like he hid it inside the board, which was sitting behind him in the videos, which he used, which are sitting in Pepper's office, which he realized like, hey, let's take this back and figure this all out. But like the dad knew that his son was going to be something one day, planted the seeds that he needed for him to find what he needed to find, and then kind of went from there. And that's it. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
Tony
he
was
was
staring
he
at
was
that tabletop, that diorama for years in his office.
Yep.
Years, you know what I mean? And obviously there'd be no way for you to know that, hey, this is a blueprint for something, unless there was a card underneath it or something in line or
This.
there was a video left behind, which basically finally he had enough, I guess, there was enough of a moment for him to shut the fuck up, watch those videos of his dad, and then connect some dots quickly and realize, damn, hold on, let me check this thing out real quick. It's like what could he have left me? I've been through everything. What else could he have left me that? And then it's like, huh, what does that look like? And then you look at the shape of it, the roadways that lead to the big globe in the center, down in Flushing
Hmm.
Meadow Park and stuff like that. And it's like, holy shit, how come I never realized that before? I mean, he's been staring at the full, how many story big arc reactor for years as well. And it's like, it doesn't click until you have those moments of aha, those moments of clarity. And sometimes we got to
Yeah.
go through shit in order to even be to that shit. Sometimes we need to acknowledge some shit in order to allow some shit to be, found or be, come into our brain and help us form a new notion of something.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
He's
completely
deep. He's
agree.
deep, man. He's deep.
Tony. Yeah. I mean, he does. It does get, like I said, you see his growth from movie to movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Which I think is an amazing thing too, because Marvel could have just took the easy road and made him the cocky pretty boy throughout the whole thing, just coming in to save the day, or whatever the case may be, through the
Yeah.
whole thing. Just had cool explosions and shit, but they were like, you know what? We want this to go. We want this to last. We want this to make an impact on. Like this is gonna be. This is history right here. This is history in the making with this stuff. We want this to make that kind of an impact to where no one else is going to be able to do this, and if they do, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now to where they
I,
can do something this successful.
bro,
I
I
don't think it's going
hated
to be soon.
Justin Hammer so much.
Yeah,
What's that?
I hated the
Justin
Justin
Hammer.
Hammer character so much.
Oh, I thought he was freaking hilarious, man. Just because that's Sam Rockwell.
Well,
but
yeah, don't
I
get me
understand
wrong.
like the hate for the character,
Yeah.
like itself. But like, had it been anybody but Sam Rockwell, it would not have been as memorable as it was. his fucking dance onto the stage there. It's just like, oh
man.
god, like I'm embarrassed for you, dude.
Like I
I
get
like
being in that position where you're always second. You know what I mean? I get
Yeah.
it, and it's annoying, but I just did not like the way he brought him across, the way he parted. Like just I didn't. And then when he starts interacting with Ivan, Whiplash, it's like, bro, like the dude wants his bird. You brought him any bird,
hmm
like not for nothing. You may be the most rich, second richest or second most powerful private person there is. This have you seen this guy? Like he don't give a fuck. Like if he wants to, he will kill you and your one bodyguard and walk
hmm
out of here with everything.
Well, that's essentially what he did. He had everything pre-programmed. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, bring him to the expo. Like, I'll deal with it after the time when the time comes." And sure enough, did everything. Freaking overtook Rhodey's suit. Like he overtook the Iron Man software, which goes to show you like
how intelligent he was.
Exactly. Yeah. For an actor who actually did not know how to use a computer prior to that, it's pretty funny.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was not technologically inclined all that much. That was one of his issues with the characters. Like it was his toughest thing. He said was trying to portray someone who actually knew what they were doing with computers.
I like that. I do like going back to earlier in the conversation how I believe Chris, you said it about, or maybe Kyle, I don't remember which one of you two said it about this character, Whiplash, how instead of it being, a nerdy looking guy, scientist that just evil for whatever reason because he's jealous of Tony, whatever, you have this brute, this tough looking guy, tattoos and all that shit, was smart as shit, and you don't expect him to be as smart as he is because of his look. And he still shows that he's like, listen, you can give me all this money, you can give me what I want, but at the end of the day, I'm still running shit. Yes, you're paying me, but I'm running this shit. Like I'm the fucking top dog here, and you can't do anything about it.
I'm the brains. I know exactly what's going on, what needs to be done.
Like,
but what makes him dangerous is because, well, for one, he doesn't give a shit. He's the brains and the brute and the villain. So it's like usually, you have the brain, the evil. Usually when it's evil, usually the brain, somebody weak, scrawny, weak, and they're in something to make themselves stronger or whatever. Batman, Man Bat, the Man Bat character, just so on and so forth with other characters. And this guy's like the brute and the brains and wants to be on the front lines to tear shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's what people fear most, right? Someone who isn't just gonna be lurking, someone who's actually in your face with the shit, right? Mm-hmm. And then this kind of plays into the whole story of the 10 rings and all that stuff, that comes up in the next Iron Man movie in the Mandarin, and then it shows up again later on in Shang-Chi. So again, super expansive, super fucking entailed, and super just. I love how it just branches, and they just they just do such a great job, such a great job. Like I almost wish I could get my hands on the scripts to these things because I would love to read through them. You know what I mean? I would love to read through it like a novel instead of just watch it. Yeah, I mean this is definitely stories and books that I would love to read through. Now,
I guarantee you they're out there somewhere.
I know we had the comic books and stuff like that, and those weekly editions or monthly editions, but for this to be one whole book to form the imagery in your mind and all that stuff, and then they always add other things that aren't in the movies because a book will take fucking 5 to 10 hours to read, depending on how long it is or whatever, versus 2 or 3 hours to watch, or longer to read. But still, it's these are these.
Yeah, they're available online.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go look for them. Gotta have to go look for them. Yeah.
Are they expensive? Are they cheap? Because I'm cheap, Kyle.
Well, it is free, cheap enough for you.
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. You're good to go.
After the whole plan unfolds with the new robots that Ivan made for what you call that. From then on out in the movie, I guess that's the climax part, right? What do you guys feel about how it all kind of started to rise and end?
I enjoyed it. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
So sorry. As it was rising, like you see Black Widow start to take form, like the actual Black Widow character, not the Natasha Romanoff. She starts like kicking everyone's ass while Happy's like sitting there boxing the one guy for like 10 minutes.
I
She's
got
like,
him.
just
Turns
yeah, I got
around,
her.
there's
Looks
fucking
like
there's 8 of them.
guys are lying around. I think in the original one, I think there was like some guy was like had like a noose around him or something. He's kind of like hanging there like this.
Oh shit.
I think they had since taken it out. I could be wrong, and it could be another movie, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. But yeah, she just like you can tell immediately. Okay, she's a badass. She's not just a spy. She's a badass. Oh wait, I guess the computer technology thing. She's able to reboot the War Machine suit like without really knowing what the hell's going on. She just got there, figured it out immediately. Like she that character development was very very fast, but it was worthwhile for it because you get to see that kick ass scene.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, everything's just action packed up until the end, basically.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And again, I enjoy it because you get this, you get a little action in the beginning here and there. Then you get like the build up for the story. Then you get like the big action sequence you want. And then it kind of calms down and goes back, with the rest of the story. And then it's another freaking great film by Marvel. Another freaking great film by Marvel. And it's like, again, can they do no wrong now? Did they finally do they have like the key? Do they have like that magic ticket right now? Where some, people who are connected with this film, there's just certain directors, producers. But there's a certain team. There's certain teams in every era you can probably say that just get a bunch of hits, and now it's like their turn. But they're just really, really, really doing it. Like, again, I know I keep saying it, but I'm glad that this is in our lifetime. Like, I'm glad it's not something that happened, say, 30 years ago, 40 years ago when your kids are not even born yet and it already had happened. And I'm glad it happened during, like, our lifetime where you're old enough to understand it and kind of just enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. Would it have been cool if it came out when we were, like, kids or teens? Hell yeah, of course. But in your adult life still, it's like, you know what? I can go buy a movie ticket if I want to and go see it, or I can rent it when it comes out. Whatever the case may be, I can go see it when I want to.
Exactly. We have the ability to watch any of them. Just get the Disney app now, and it's like everything's there.
But it's just I'm just like, wow, like it's almost unbelievable. Like, and even watching it, it's still unbelievable how many of these films are so well done. And
absolutely, like this is stuff we grew up with when we were kids. Like the I don't know if you guys read comic books when you were younger, but like I read them when I was able to get them. Very few and far between from where I used to live. But once in a while they'd show up at the store, you'd pick one up. But like that, between that and the like all the Saturday morning cartoons, X-Men, Spider-Man, all that stuff, like that's where. And then the video games, because there was a nice surge of video games on like Super Nintendo with Sega with different superheroes. So very, like
very true.
Everything was there. We just grew up with it, and it just
we had the arcade games. We had the Marvel arcade games back in the day. All that kind of stuff. And come to think about it, I don't remember a DC arcade game. That's messed up, DC. You dropped the ball there because you could have had a classic with the Marvel one with the X-Men characters in there and all that. It was mainly X-Men characters for the most part, but still, it's something. Yeah. It's something. But no, seriously, like it just amazes me that they made so many films, and again, just talking about the movies, and there's so many more still to come, and they just keep getting better and better for the most part. Or even if they're staying the same, and as you said, Kyle, no less than a 7. If this whole freaking universe is a 7 out of 10, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's
like you're talking TV shows, you're talking movies, Disney series, the shorts.
Yeah, if you want to add all that,
like everything, like that is just like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But the fact that they're able to keep such a solid stream of entertainment with everything making sense and intertwining with like all the other shows and movies and whatnot. Like it's amazing. Like,
and maintaining the quality, not sacrificing.
Yeah, the quality, like absolutely.
They don't sacrifice anything for the quality or the content that they're putting into it or whatnot. They're not sacrificing. You're not getting a great visual show or movie with a shitty storyline, where they were trying to do that before and try to meet in the middle. And I think that's where some of the issues came up with like the original Hulk movies and shit like that. Like, you're not getting that anymore. And they know that. They know what they have. They know the plan. They know the formula that they put in place, and they know that it works. So there's no reason to deviate from that. Only find ways to make it better. And
But,
they know
yep.
if they think they're doing something to make it better, but then it has another kind of effect to it that could make it worse or won't be as well received, they're like, nope, we're good on that.
You're right.
Absolutely.
You're right.
She's such a badass.
She is. Scarlett Johansson.
Hell yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's why, like, I was praising what she was doing earlier. Like the just that one scene alone, you can tell, like, oh, this is the character that needs to like stick around. Like, they're going to be worthwhile. It's not just a pretty face, right? It's somebody who has the skill, has the intelligence, like all this stuff. And it was a damn shame that it took so long for her to get her own movie. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be another fantastic movie as well, and especially the fact that they kind of had to be like do like a passing of the torch of like from the one Black Widow to the new Black Widow. Even the new Black Widow, I think she's absolutely freaking hilarious. Her and the female Hawkeye, like
Nice.
they're just their dynamic together is just amazing. They even play off of it on the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like they're fighting each other, and the Kate Bishop goes to the new Black Widow, like you need to stop doing that. She's like, what? She's like, you're making me like you too much. Like we're in the middle of fighting each other. You did this really cool flip thing. Like, how did you do that? like it's ridiculous. But like, okay, well, I want to see more with these two in it now.
Mm-hmm. They know Marvel knows what they're doing. Though they do that, and then boom, they're now they're in a full length feature film and all this other shit. Now they're a part of the Avengers film. They know what they're doing. They throw things out there as like, we know this is going to be good, but we're still going to throw it out as like kind of bait for these people. And if they really love it, we'll bring it back even bigger. If they don't really love it, we'll just keep it as a show form or one film. But if they love it, if they fucking like, they come out in droves, not only that for the opening night, but they keep coming out weeks and weeks and weeks after. And then when it comes out on Disney Plus or whatever, they're streaming the shit out of it. Yeah, we're going to make something completely bigger. We have this idea right here. And if we have to do, we'll figure out the tweaks by what these people say and what they watch, figure out the tweaks, and we'll tweak it up, and boom. And I'm just
exactly, and that goes back to like the whole the 20-year line. Like they know exactly what's going to work and what's not going to work. Like 5 years before it happens. Like it's just like nobody can see a global pandemic happening, but Marvel's like, okay, we're just going to take a quick break. Like, okay, there's a few movies that we got in the bag here, so we're just going to add them in Disney Plus. Yes, that's stirred some feathers and shit like that, but.
Ruffled some feathers, but hey.
Ruffled some feathers, but yeah, like they dealt with that. Everything's good now with them and Scarlett Johansson. Not that it really matters because the character is freaking dead, but spoilers. But it's just the fact that they were able to, like, even with that giant thing, continue to work with their properties and all that, release a bunch of TV shows, continue to work with Sony so they can release Spider-Man, which is like one of the biggest grossing movies in the world again, like, or ever. Like, it's just, it's absolutely insane. Like they have a contingency plan for anything and everything, it seems.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the whole Spider-Man thing. In one of the other episodes, I said something about that and them owning it. Sorry, correction. Sony does own the Spider-Man property at the current moment, which is why Marvel had to assist and consult, not film it, not produce it, and all that stuff. But that goes to speak volumes that they have such a powerful hand at the moment that another entity, as big as Sony is and as big as like Fox was and all that stuff, they had to put their shit to the side, because if they wanted to reap some of the benefit and enjoy the perks of making a film that was going to make them so much money like the MCU was doing for Disney and Marvel themselves, that they had to just go, all right, let's do this. Let's work together. Let's make this happen. And not for nothing, now it's also a movie that literally does fall in the timeline of the MCU, even though it's created by a completely outside entity and film studio and just corporate entity or corporate property or corporate.
But that's the thing, though. Sony also saw, like, you know what? Like, yes, we had some successful Spider-Man movies originally. The third one didn't do so good, so we tried to reboot it. Like, what, 3-4 years later? Like, those ones didn't do as well as we wanted it to. Okay, well, let's reboot it again. And then they went up to Disney and said, listen, like, we need your help. Clearly something's not working here. So they made a deal, and
Yep.
Like it was the best thing that they could have ever done, because not only does Spider-Man get back like one of their most popular character, or Spider-Man,
Marvel.
not only does Marvel get one of their best characters back to use here and there, but like you can associate both franchises as one,
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
or the MCU and Spider-Man as one, and the fact that they also did, actually, I'm not even going to talk about it. I haven't even watched the damn movie yet, and it's still fairly new. It's not even out of theaters yet, so we're just going to leave that alone, just
Okay,
in
I know
case
what
I'm
you're talking
wrong and spoilers and shit. But like the fact that they can do what they did in that,
right.
it literally brings like what 25 years worth of
Hmm.
movies together. Like it's amazing.
I was
It's
just gonna
amazing.
touch on that because yeah, then that's the other thing that Marvel did too. They were like, well, fuck it, this stuff is there. It's not like we denounced this or we hated it. Now we got a way to make this in part of our shit.
about.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you for doing that, because now we can use that. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
they did. I can't wait. Again, I started watching it and then I had to leave or whatnot. So it's like one of those things, but is what it is. But once I finally get through the whole movie, eventually we'll be reviewing that one here as well on the Midnight Matinee.
Yes,
Because
sir.
it is going to fall in line. We're going to get through all of these first initial ones that are on Disney Plus, and then we'll be throwing those in the mix, and then on my playlist or whatever, I'll make sure I put it in the place it belongs or whatnot. But just because it's a different property than Disney's and their timeline, even though now, like I said, they finally fucking made it all in the same timeline with
Let's
this
just,
this new
yeah.
movie. So
Let's put this all together now, guys. Let's tape it all together.
yep. So that's super dope. I can't wait for this. We're coming up on the conclusion here of the movie. We get leading into Tony's better. He found his solution. He's got through. He's dealt with the situation of Rhodey's suit being taken over. These droids are coming, but now he's still fighting Rhodey because of the programming and everything, and Ivan doing all this shit. So he has to essentially try to destroy his own tech, his own suit.
Mm-hmm.
Romanoff comes in, Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow. She's able to get him shut down, takes over, and now he can help him again momentarily to finish this whole shit. They go and find Ivan. They take him in. Hammer goes back to being Hammer, and his
Well, no, they take Hammer in because Hammer
yeah,
is the one who's
yeah.
behind everything, and then Ivan shows up at the what do they call it, the death pool or the death pit or whatever it was,
Yes.
to try to take them out. And of course, teamwork and crossing the streams, or the arc streams, if in this case, save the day.
Crossing the arc streams. Hey,
They straight up stole from Ghostbusters. There, we're not going to deny it. They definitely did, and I'm fine with it.
hey. If it works, it works. You see, that's another thing movies do. And I'm not going to sit here and mention them because I don't remember. But like when a movie takes something from another movie, but they do it good, they do it justice. It's like paying homage, and they do it justice. They're like, okay, all right, you know what? That makes me feel good inside because I know where it came from. It sucks when they fuck it up though, and they just do horrible. Like,
It's true, but on that note too, though, like Spider-Man, anytime that he like says something to somebody, he's like, "Hey, remember that really old movie?" And then he's, what was it? Empire Strikes Back. And then that's how he takes down Iron Man, or not Iron Man, Ant-Man, or Giant Man, I guess in that case. Just like, I absolutely love that because it's callbacks to old stuff that like a lot of people probably haven't seen, but like people like us have, are just like, oh yeah,
Yep.
or the Infinity War one where they're like, oh yeah, tell who was it? Star-Lord. They're like, Star-Lord, tell him about the dance battle to save the universe. And then Spider-Man comes up as
Footloose?
like
What?
Footloose?
What's that?
Yeah, exactly like Footloose.
Oh shit!
And that's all part of their plays on them also being smart enough to try to get people to go back and watch those, because I mean,
Yeah.
Spider-Man just said something about a movie from the 70s. Guess what? Kids now are going to be like, what was he talking about? It's so cool. Spider-Man knows about it. Let me go find it out. Let me go watch this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that there is going to get fans. Maybe not every single kid that watches is going to get fans of Footloose. It's going to get kids dressed up as Spider-Man, dancing to the music in Footloose and all that, which is dope. I love how movies do that and kind of mix things up with the cultures and with the eras, to where, like you just said, like especially with movies like this, where it's like, okay, now what's Footloose? I got to go back. Some kids, I got to go back and check that out. Hey, mom, dad, what's Footloose? And then there's those parents who are just like, I was waiting for this fucking moment. Now I can claim you as my child.
Takes out the VHS. Let's go.
You are about to watch Kevin Bacon, Shake it.
When Kevin Bacon saves the universe.
That's it.
Holy shit.
I fucking loved it. Now I can't remember because I before we got on here I didn't make it to the end again on my recap because like Kyle, I've seen this thing 1,000 times. What's the mid or the end credit scenes on this one on Iron Man 2?
I can go right to it right now.
Because Marvel, I don't know if Marvel started doing it at this point or not, but they have a mid scene of the credits and
they had
have
it.
an end scene.
They had it in the original one, or the original Iron Man credits.
The first Iron Man?
Yeah, the first one was Nick Fury, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the Avengers Initiative. Okay, so the Iron Man 2 after credit scene is the Majoranin. I can never fucking pronounce it. Thor's hammer.
Oh, Manor. Yep.
Milnor, yes, thank you. Yeah, so it's out in the middle of what is it?
In the desert.
The desert. Right? Yeah, out in the middle of the desert, New Mexico. And Coulson's out there like, yeah, we got this weird thing that showed up. We can't even move it.
It's because he had to do this until it's come to him.
But he was no longer worthy. But you won't find that out until the next episode.
Until the next movie, yep. The Thor, which will be airing 3/19. So get yourselves ready for that one as well.
I'll be ready for that too. Just wait till you see what I have in store for you guys then.
See, but this is such the cool part too, because now we got this little scene that, thanks for doing that. Got this little scene, right? There's also a shirt that's going to come up. That's also cool. Like, a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. So we're going to have that as a bonus episode for you, dropping as well, probably midweek. So enjoy that as well, the week of the 15th through the 18th or 19th. So yeah, look out for that, because I'm dropping all of these shorts, the one-shots, as bonus episodes for you guys. All right, guys. We've come to it.
We've come to it.
We've come to the end of the movie. We've talked about pretty much almost everything that we can, from morality to personal growth,
teamwork,
and resources and underminingness and all this stuff. So, as we just get done here with Iron Man 2, Kyle, could you lead us off on the ratings here? What do you give Iron Man 2 as a whole, and why?
Iron Man 2 as a whole, I'm going to give this thing an 8.5.